hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jaylee. This is Jaylee's Corner, and this is going to be my recap, my conversation, my commentary about the interview that Jennifer Hough did on The Real. It was yesterday, and she was speaking about the situation with Nicki Minaj and her husband, Kenneth Petty. So I just wanted to give my insight on what happened. Okay, but y'all know I want y'all to do a couple of things. To one, subscribe to my channel. To become a whole JayBird. Dun 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 dun. I want y'all to like this video, comment in the comment section. You can also share it on your social media. You should always relax and relate and release and center yourself and everyone around you. And also remember to inhale and to exhale because sometimes you need that to calm down. You can also follow me on social media on IG. It is J underscore Lees underscore corner. And then on Twitter, it is Jaylee's Corner. And y'all know to like and subscribe. The link to all of those things is in the description box below this video. So yeah. So I am here. Um the whole situation that is played out, I feel like some people are misunderstanding why she's speaking up now. There is a lot of victim blaming going around. There's a lot of people who are fans of Nicki who can't see past their stardom of her as an artist versus something that happened before she even knew her husband, um, or was involved with her husband. Because again, supposedly she knew him back in the day or whatever. But again, something happened to someone prior to her being with him. So I really wish people could separate the two. So back in 95 or 96, okay, again, it was a long time ago, but however, Kenneth Petty was convicted of assault of Jennifer Hough. At that point in time, they both were 16, as Jennifer brought up on the show. They were not in any kind of relationship. She did know him from the neighborhood, but that was really all that it was. So that happened then. Now, he was found guilty. He went to jail for a number of years. He got out, and yes, he may have done his time. That's fine. Okay. And as Jennifer brought up in her interview, each year since he's gotten out, he is registered as a sex offender in whatever state he was living in. And for some reason, once he was married to Nicki Minaj, once they moved to, I think they moved to LA, he no longer registered. He felt like he didn't have to, whatever, and was trying to figure out ways to not have to do that. Okay. And with that, her question was, if you have been registering for all these years before being married to this person, you've been registering wherever you were as a sex offender, why all of a sudden that you're married and y'all moved to a different state did you not want to do that when you've done this all these years? So her issue was the first thing. Also, she brought up how, once he did marry Nicki Minaj, she was scared people would find out who she was and then things would go from there. Because again, it's one thing if he's out in the world and she's his victim from what happened to her when she was 16 years old. And no one cares enough to Google her or figure out things. But once he was attached to Nicki, once it came out, his record came out, people were trying to figure out who this person was that he was accused of and found guilty of assaulting. And she did give a detailed uh she detailed what happened to her, how she seen him at the bus stop, hey, because I know you from the hood or whatever, and how he then, forced her to go to some house. He then took it from her, you know what I mean, and how he acted after the fact, how she ended up hitting him with a bottle or whatever, and then she ran away to the school. The police got involved and all of that. She also brought up how, people bring up how she recanted her story. She said that she has never recanted her story. However, the family she was with, not her own family, but whoever the people were taking care of her at that time when she was 16, because of the threats they were getting then about her testifying about her going through this, she did not recant her story. She asked to drop the charges. Those are two different things. Meaning, I never said he didn't do it. What I said was just drop the charges, leave it alone, and let it be. But not, he did not do this to me. Again, this is a 16, 17-year-old person back in 95, 96 time frame. Okay, this is not currently now. Um, Even her bringing up how people assumed different things, mainly that him and her were in a relationship back then. Excuse me, that came from Nicki. Nicki did comment on social media that y'all tripping because, you know what I'm saying, he was this age, she was that age, and they were in a relationship, but go off or whatever. So that's neither here nor there. So again, certain things is stuff that Nicki put out that she's now saying was not true. Now they were also bringing up how her current lawsuit is about the harassment that she's facing from Nicki and her camp and people trying to push her to recant her story now so that he doesn't have to register as a sex offender now. And again, you have been registering for all these years until now. Why now? Now, she brought up how in earlier, I think last year was an interview she did where she was saying that she had not talked to Nicki. And currently, and this what she brought up, she talked to Nicki one time. It was back in March. And, they were trying to offer her money to, again, help them out in some kind of situation. But she also brought up how it was talking to her that one time. But every time other than that, it was someone else through Nicki and or Kenneth Petty. It was a friend of theirs who would come see her and talk to her and try to intimidate her. Okay, offer her $20,000 to recant her story, and she kept saying no. Now I've seen people say, "Oh, well, she said no because she wants more money, or she's on here because she wants fame, and this, that, and that, and this." I don't think people understand. Had Nicki not married someone who was arrested and charged with and convicted of assaulting someone, no one would be looking into what he did. And the fact that the best point she made to me about this was he kept registering until he married Nicki. Now he doesn't want to register. Now they want to figure out a way for him not to be considered a predator or not to be considered a sexual offender. But that's what he's been for all these years. So her point is that is where the intimidation, the harassment comes from. That's where the lawsuit comes from. Because again, you can't make it seem like what I went through, I did not go through. I love that she said, because I think either I think it was Adrian who asked her, like, what do you think about the people who don't believe you? She said, it's fine if they don't believe me. Everyone has to have their own thought process or whatever, their own opinion. The issue I have is you cannot be upset with me for something that happened to me that you weren't there and that you don't believe based on you being a fan of Nicki Minaj. And even her bringing up how Nicki has all these opinions and she in these things that she called facts about what happened when she wasn't there either. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that too. And even woman to woman, it's like, what did Kenneth tell Nicki is the question. Because she wasn't there, her only information can come from him. So him saying, man, I was dating that girl. Man, me and that girl was messing around. Man, she was older than me. You know what I'm saying? It's like the things she's saying seem like it's things that he told her. However, let him keep registering and don't have the conversation. But trying to reach out to her to pay her any amount of money for any little thing, to me, means y'all are trying to push a narrative that no one else needs for it to be pushed. Because as she said, he registered for 15, 20 years since it happened. So it does not make any sense for him to want to backpedal and pussy pop now. Um, she brought up how she is moved because the people find out who she was. How people come up to her child, her daughter, in clubs or whatever, asking them questions about Nicki and Kenneth Petty. And again, the daughter wasn't born back then because the daughter, you know what I'm saying? That's not a thing. So it's like she has the right to tell her story now that Kenneth is trying to no longer register as a sex offender. She has a right to defend. Why would I recant my story all these years later? Why? Why would you be registering all these years? Why is anyone from Nicki's camp offering me money for anything? For what? No one would have any, because it's not as if no one knew he was a sex offender. He had to, that's the law. To me, in my opinion, Nicki and Kenneth brought up more questions and more issues by trying to prevent him from registering. That was the crazy part. Even though he now pleaded guilty to not doing it, you brought more attention to it all. She brought up how people have made it seem as if she was some white girl, and she wasn't. Or like she was somebody older, and she wasn't. Or like she tried to recant her story, which, as she said, she did not. She said in the courtroom, just drop the charges. I don't want to do this, just drop the charges. Because again, that came from, as she said, people who were taking care of her parents or her guardians, who no longer wanted to proceed with this situation. I really want people to separate the artist Nicki Minaj from the wife of Kenneth Petty, because this is a whole mess. And I appreciate her coming forward and saying they fucking with me. They're trying to pressure me into shutting up. They're trying to intimidate me into shutting up. And that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell y'all what he did to me, that he was found guilty, and that all these years I felt scared to speak up, but I'm not going to do that anymore. And even people bring up how, well, she was saying that, she was going to try to extort Nicki or whatever, or she wanted more money. The one audio I heard of someone saying something didn't even sound like her. At least not the voice she had on here. And we'll touch on this too. We've seen Tasha K post and stuff, calling, Jennifer a liar, and how she was trying to get this or get that and get money or whatever, even though we've seen other YouTubers. I think, was it Missy Miles? No, it was Armand Wiggins, who posted clips of Tasha K going in on Nicki for even being with somebody who was charged with taking it from somebody. And Tasha, for some reason, no longer feels that way. She posted how, that happened 30 years ago, and I'm not going to hold no man responsible for something he did 30 years ago that he was in jail for. And I was like, but you've done that to other people. You drag people on your platform for less. So I feel like, why on God's green earth would anyone be out here questioning the victim when he was found guilty of doing it? I'm surprised she hasn't asked the question. I mean, Tasha K, that why did he all of a sudden not want to register? Why were they offering old girl 20 grand to begin with? People have been saying recently that Nicki Minaj was trying to distract her off of something, and now I feel like you know what it was. It was his interview. I think she be knowing what's coming sometime, and she likes to deflect, and that's why she was on social media that whole thing and whatnot. But we have to stop questioning the victim's antics when the person who did it is doing something to cause a ruckus. You not registering made people question, who was it he accused of messing with? What happened? And what she's saying, which made her have to come out and say things. She said how Nicki's saying how she was, the age different or whatever, or they were a couple, is what made her have to speak out, because it wasn't true. Leave this lady alone. Leave her alone. At the end of the day, what she went through was horrible. Why make her have to relive it and have to defend herself because you married somebody who you should have known was going to bring heat your way? Don't marry somebody with that kind of record if you can't handle the heat that come with it. Don't then try to silence or intimidate the person he did things to in order to get the heat off of you. That's what I don't appreciate. She said a lot of stuff just in defense of why she's speaking out. And I don't feel like she was lying. I feel like she sat there and told her story. I feel like she was speaking from a place of memory. I feel like she wanted to just get her truth out in her own words. And even her attorney only spoke on the reason they're, suing is because of the harassment. If you don't think somebody who has over 100 million followers on social media posting about you and making her fans feel like, the person who was is on BS or whatever, if you think that will not cause some kind of harm or hindrance or retaliation from your fans to her, then you're a fool, Nicki. None of this would have happened if two things wouldn't have happened first. Had you not married him, but you did, so fine, fine, fine. Or if you need to register as a defender, just so that we do not have these issues because you've registered any other time before. Okay? Anyway, that's all I have. I did not want to go into too much detail. I want people to go watch the interview to hear it from her own perspective. I gave a couple of key points of what she said that happened, and I can appreciate her honesty. I can appreciate even her vulnerability having to be that open and honest on a talk show where you are seen by a lot of people. And I like how the ladies kept saying, here's the real, everyone has, the chance to speak their truth. Every woman deserves to be heard and tell her truth. That's what she was doing. And even if you do not believe her, then don't believe her and leave it be. But we know something happened because that's what he went to jail for. As she said, after it happened, the police went to the place she told him it happened at, and he was there. Sometimes we have to leave things alone and let what happened be what happened. You can't change the past. But let's not try to punish the person who something happened to them. Okay, so that is all that I have. I will talk to y'all later. Do not forget to like this video, comment in the comment section. Also, hit that little share button. Thank you so much. I will see you when I see you.